This is Austin Green of the band WASD, and you're listening to Pixelated Audio.
All right, welcome back to Pixelated Audio, a podcast focusing on game audio, its history, and the people behind it. We're your hosts. I'm Brian. This is Gene.
Hey, everyone.
And we've got a special guest with us.
Yes. This is a cool show that kind of just happened by happenstance. So, as some of you know, our last episode was talking about Canyon.mid with George Stone, which, you know, that one was just an episode all about curiosity. I really just wanted to pull on that thread and see what happened, and George responded, and we got him on the show. It was really great. And one of the arrangements that we played on that show was Canyon.mid, performed by the band WASD. And Austin, who's here with us, you can attest to this. I promised you when that show came out in like June, which it did not, you know, that we would have your cover on there. But it finally came out. And then shortly after the show, he's like, hey, do you guys want to, you know, have me on the show? I'd love to talk more about PC game music. So here we are. Austin, welcome to the show.
Hello, so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you.
Yeah, we actually met Austin at MagWest. Well, I did. Did you meet him as well, Brian? I'm so many memories are fuzzy.
I'm sure I did.
Yeah, probably. There was so many people there.
Yeah. I know I met you there with Ian. We were walking around a whole bunch, and Brian was kind of in and out. He wasn't at the event quite as much as I was, but it was a really good time. And so we're here to talk about PC music. We're here to talk about your band, WASD, your covers of a lot of great PC tunes, just love of PC game music in general.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Greatest console ever made. Well, greatest platform, I guess.
Sure. We'll go with that. So let's talk about that opening track, because there's a lot of energy there.
Heck yeah. Jazz Jackrabbit, you know, that's just like a fantastic soundtrack. So much energy, like and it fits the game, right? You know, you're running around doing fast things, trying to be like Sonic the Hedgehog, but on a computer instead. And it's just like, it fits the vibe so well.
Trying to be Sonic the Hedgehog, but on the computer instead.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's a great way to put it. A lot of energy. I mean, the Jazz Jackrabbit 2 soundtrack is one of my favorites on the PC. It's correct me if I'm wrong, but it was like an indie title that was just put out and gained steam, the first one, and then they ended up coming out with the second one in 1998. So it was originally composed by Alexander Brandon, and I think Jazz Jackrabbit, whenever I watch like speed runs, stuff like that, like Awesome Games Done Quick, there's usually a throwback to Jazz Jackrabbit somewhere in there.
Oh yeah, it's such a great game. I think, the second one was, published by Epic, right? I think they got picked up and Epic put it out.
That I think Epic was originally, like you said, Brian, more of an indie developer. The whole, you know, my favorite, the shareware era, and then eventually they kind of grew to be, either they got acquired, I don't know. I'm not going to get into the whole story of every one of these companies, but at some point, that and a couple of other games kind of shot them to stardom, and now, you know, they're...
Oh, okay. So this is, I never even knew the history of of this being Epic before they were as epic as they are now, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, they got to start somewhere, right?
Epic Mega Games, that was their name.
Yep. So do we want to just jump into our next one here and talk about that? Yeah, what do we got?
I do. So before we do that, I kind of want to preface this so that the listeners know what we're going to do for some of these tracks is Austin brought us a number of tracks that he's covered And so what we're going to do is a little bit of an A/B. We're going to listen to the source material, and then we're going to listen to Austin's take on it, and then sort of talk about it. The band WASD, for those that don't know, and you'll go into this in more depth, is a PC game music cover band. You can tell that from the letters. If you know what WASD means, you know the keys. Very common first-person shooters, and I see that reflected a lot in the track list, which is great. So the first track we're going to play actually is a little bit after that era, but this is from the game Borderlands, the first one. This is the track Arid Badlands, also known as Welcome to Fyrestone, composed by Jesper. That was Arid Badlands, or Welcome to Fyrestone, originally composed by Jesper from the game Borderlands, and showing a little bit of restraint, only a 4-minute track instead of a 20-minute long one. So
that was the editor's cut down version, I'm sure. It's probably originally like 30 minutes, and
there's so much ambiance in that track.
Yeah,
right?
I love that. So I'm curious why. Well, obviously you covered this track, but what is it about this one? Because I remember playing games like Call of Juarez was kind of going for that like Western, like acoustic guitar. I love this sort of thing. I feel like it was big right around this period. I don't know.
Yeah, I sunk so many hours into Borderlands on PC, which makes me like, I know it was a multi-plat game, like it came out on Xbox 360 and PS3, but to me it was always a PC game, playing like network games with my friends and stuff like that, even LAN occasionally. But yeah, that whole vibe of it is just like, that soundtrack, the atmosphere of it fits the game so perfectly, and I just feel like that Arid Badlands track, you're in that area for so long, it's such a hub throughout most of the game, it feels like, at least, that you just get that little earworm of that little arpeggiated clean guitar kind of just like wired in there.
Well, Arid Badlands too, Borderlands in general, the art aesthetic is really unique. It's got that kind of cell shaded look to it.
Oh yeah.
And then when you have this very atmospheric, realistic sound to accompany that, it adds like a different dimension. I think that's what makes Borderlands so special, is the really like deep thought out ambiance with that kind of almost cartoonish, but not so much steampunkish kind of feel or visual.
Yeah. And the whole like junkyard vibe. I mean, like a lot of Borderlands is like scavenging for weapons.
Right.
And it's just like, yeah, like it's futuristic, but in that sort of not everything is pristine. You're in a dusty canyon picking up weapons that are like laser rifles.
Picking up junk, picking up cash out of toilets and things like that too.
Yeah.
The audio of this game is so I love that it's has such a contrast between like the opening cinematic, which is Ain't No Rest for the Wicked by Cage the Elephant, right? During that like opening cinematic scene, and then you just get in and there's like nothing else with that vibe throughout the whole. I mean, the game has that vibe really, but everything just is atmospheric and takes you on a different direction of that world.
Yeah, I admittedly played a lot more of 2 than the first one, but I played the first one all the way through, but I think I sunk a lot more hours into 2 because it opens up.
I think 2 was just generally a longer game.
Yeah, and I think that they added there was something about the multiplayer in 2 that worked out a lot better for whatever reason, and so I ended up playing that with James a lot. When that first came out, man, I just sunk so many hours into looting and stuff. I can't even remember.
Yeah, me too.
Oh boy. Yeah, but great track. And are we going to play the WASD version?
We are, but I want to actually get a little bit of context from you, Austin. So first off, maybe now would be a good time to say congratulations on the, as of right now, recently released album.
Yes.
When this goes out, it will have come out. So tell us a little bit about that, and why you picked this track, and then we'll kind of jump into that. We'll talk more about the album as the show goes on. Okay,
cool. Yeah. The new album will be out at this point on our Bandcamp and everything for WASD. This track actually is a song that I covered on the very first WASD demo that I ever made, which had to be at least 10 years ago, maybe 9-10 years ago, on like a CD that I had, like a CDR. I'm holding up a CDR right here, and I had made like these I had made like a paper case for them, like folded up an envelope sort of to hold it, and was like handwritten labels, printed out the whole thing, and I was handing them out at events like BitGen and stuff in Baltimore, because I was just like, hey guys, I did some computer game covers, look at this. and it never got any farther than that. Like I did the one cover and then never did it again. But then when I was working on this album, I was like, yo, I gotta bring back some Borderlands and put it on this new album. And it's got a little bit of a rewrite compared to how it was originally. I'm doing a lot of like harmonizing and stuff throughout the song, but I think it turned out pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Sounds great.
I've enjoyed listening to it. Let's give it a listen.
Okay, you're listening to, or you just listened to WASD's track Fyrestone from Borderlands.
I would have been totally fine with this being in the game. No slide on Jesper
No,
Kite
absolutely,
at all.
yeah.
But this sounds incredible.
It's a great take on it. I really love the sort of, secondary, counter melodies and harmonies you got going. There's a moment in there where you have like a pretty cool like downward progression in the bass line that I really love around 1 minute. The whole thing is just like very rich. I mean, you get the melody, but it's a very different take. It's a little bit more like I use this term a lot. I don't know what it's really called, but like desert rock, like a lot of.
What is the effect? What is the effect pedal that you're using on the guitar there?
So there's a delay on like the main guitar, like the bow, bow, bow.
Right.
There's delay on there. That's mostly what it is. I don't think I have anything else except a ton of reverb.
Yeah.
Like it's dripping in the reverb.
I kept waiting for the cowbell to come in and like Fear the Reaper almost. It's got that like.
There's some interesting instruments in there. There's like some. It's mostly electric guitar, but there's a little bit of like acoustic in there and banjo to give you a little bit of that Mumford & Sons twang.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm really glad we opened with this one too, because one of the maybe unfairly, I kind of associated you guys with like a really kind of heavy rock sound. So I'm really glad you had this, I don't know, more atmospheric, more laid back, kind of more thoughtful rock. Yeah,
I was going to say, you're totally right. And so on this album, there's 14 tracks. 12 of them are metal or rock.
Yeah.
There's a break in the middle. And so it's this song coupled with a cover from Metro 2033 that are right in the middle, like tracks 7 and 8. They're way more chill, laid back. It's a moment to let you breathe and kind of just be like, ambiance.
So I want to talk about I want to talk about the band. Like my buddy Ian, one thing I'm really glad about is you guys don't always pick the most obvious choices. You pick just like great tunes. Yeah, of course, there's always a couple of crowd pleasers in there.
Mm-hmm.
But like Metro 2033, Borderlands, great games with great music, but that's not what most people think of when they hear like VGM from PC games. And I really appreciate that you guys are kind of digging like maybe a level deeper. And that's perfect for our show. We do that stuff all the time.
Well, I'm also guessing that it has to do with just games that you played and liked, right? So it has, mainstream or not. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's certainly a lot, but I mean, a lot of the games that are on this album are also games that came out before I was born or like shortly after. So I definitely wasn't playing them much. I have kind of I've always been interested in older PC games just because I think that whole era is awesome. There's a lot of games that we cover that I have played, like, Unreal Tournament and like StarCraft, Warcraft. I'm sorry, Command and Conquer, Warcraft, Duke Nukem, all those kind of things.
The classics. Yeah.
The classics. But a lot of it is also just discovering great games with little known soundtracks, like going down the rabbit hole of the history of like RTS games. If you go back far enough, you get to the predecessors to Command and Conquer, which was Westwood Studios' Dune 2, which I did a medley of on this album. I never had played Dune 2. It's another Frank Klepacki game. I think it was actually Frank Klepacki's first game he ever composed. And like that soundtrack is bonkers. It's so good. But I never played it.
Most people haven't, and I'm going to just say this because Dune 2 was one of those like wonky. They didn't quite figure out the mechanics. If it had taken off, I think we'd be hearing covers of it all the time. But
yeah.
Like the game itself was a little bit, it was not quite there.
They were figuring out the genre. They hadn't really figured it out.
Exactly. But I mean, yeah, Frank Klepacki, I mean, odd choice maybe, but I love Legend of Carandia. That's one of my favorite soundtracks of his.
I love that soundtrack. Love that soundtrack. I was thinking about just doing an episode on that recently, actually.
Heck yeah.
All right, so the next track we're going to listen to is called Progressive, and this is from The Incredible Machine 3, released in 1995, originally composed by Chris Stevens, Tim Clarke, and Jean-Paul Moorhead. All right, that was Progressive from The Incredible Machine 2, released in 1994. And Gene, you also figured out this came out in 1995 for The Incredible Machine 3. So I guess they reused it. Yeah.
So here's the details, right? The Incredible Machine 2 only had a MIDI soundtrack. The Incredible Machine 3 had a CD audio soundtrack of like interpretations of most of the same tunes. So that one we just heard was the CD audio from 3. I don't know how that relates exactly to who composed 2 and all that, but
close enough.
CD audio. The future is here. We talk about that so much. I gotta say, this is such a like lovely cheesy like 80s rock song.
It's so good.
It is good, but it's like it's kind of like a hammy, almost Van Halen sort of track, but like not in a bad way. Just like
Those are
that's
great. What are you talking about? That's like my whole childhood, man.
I'm
Like-
not saying anything bad about it. It's just like, you know, it's kind of gotten a bit of a reputation for being like kind of corny, like synths and guitars and stuff,
like an
a little
organ
bit, yeah.
solo in the middle too, like Deep Purple all the way.
Yeah. Well, let's get into WASD's version called Programmable Rock. baby. All right.
You just heard Programmable Rock, cover from The Incredible Machine 3 by WASD.
Man, when I heard the first part is just face melting, and then it gets into that almost that breakdown, kind of like oh my God, that's slamming. I love it. Well done.
Thank you.
My only critique is you took the cheese out of that part that sounds like the beginning of Money for Nothing. It's like a great rock arrangement, but it's like, man, it's not corny.
I
which
know,
I guess
I had
isn't
to
a
make
real
it into-
criticism.
Add some like kazoos or something in there, and
I was gonna say there's still. I brought a little bit of the corny synth back at the very end of the track. There's like a it's doubling up with the guitar there to bring a little bit of the cheese.
Yeah, I'm glad you did. But I want to talk about the band WASD. First of all, and I think I said this up front, I'm really glad that there's a band that focuses primarily on PC game music, because it's kind of like, in video game music world, it's sort of like the redheaded stepchild. People always forget about PC games.
Hey, I'm literally the redheaded stepchild. What are you doing?
No, I didn't mean that.
kidding.
I didn't mean that personally. But it's like, I grew up playing a lot of PC games, and it very rarely comes into the conversation, except for like, the Duke Nukem theme, which I think you actually have on there. But
I do.
but occasionally you get Warcraft and things like that. But maybe Diablo. Actually, nobody covers Diablo because it's too hard.
I covered Diablo on the first album.
Oh, that's right.
Tip my hat to you, sir.
But in any case, so tell us about the band. I mean, how long has it been around? The formation? Just tell us the story.
Yeah. So I first went to MagFest in Mag 10, which was 2012, I think. That was my first year going. I had a blast, and I had always been into video game music, right? Like, I've always been messing around and like playing things here and there. But that was the first time that I realized, like, oh wait, you can like make a band out of these things and play. And I was playing in bands already, so I was like, that's what I want to do. I'm going to make a video game cover band. And I got home from MagFest, and I was talking with people in other musicians that I knew, and nobody was really interested in it. They were all like, that sounds not cool. That sounds kind of dumb. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll just record my own. And so I had been learning FL Studio with some bandmates and stuff. And I was like, all right, here we go. I'm going to record a cover of Quad Machine from Quake 2. And it's just have a good time. And they sounded terrible. They were terrible recordings, with like guitars plugged directly into headphone jacks and like scratchy and really bad. But I persevered. Eventually, I started like doing more covers through Dwelling of Duels and stuff like that, and really learning about home recording and production, mixing, guitar playing. Everything that I did kind of just leveled up. And then eventually, put together enough tracks to do, I did a couple of those demo CDs I mentioned earlier, and then eventually had enough tracks to do the first full-length album, Shift, which came out in 2016. I was 21 years old, and put that out from my basement. Was very happy with that. Then started looking to play some gigs. I played a couple like solo shows here and there, and that's pretty much how it stuck around for a while. And then I played with Steel Samurai for quite a few years, another VGM band here in Baltimore, and through them ended up meeting Jack Sims, who was our current bass player with the band. And then we met Andy from Master Sword, the drummer from he used to be the drummer from Master Sword. Asked him if he would like to play with us one time, and he gave it a lot of thought and was like, okay, yeah. And then that's the current iteration of the band, at least live. We're still working on recording some like live stuff with the three of us, but yeah, that's where the band is now.
Yeah, and you guys are performing at MagFest this year.
We are.
What are the dates on that, just so I remember?
MagFest is January 5th through 8th, 2023.
Yeah, so if you're in the DC area around those times, MagFest is always a good time. And I have to say, the lineup this year is killer.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm really glad you guys, I mean, their lineups have been great for many years, but it's like every announcement has been like, damn, am I missing this one again? I really should go, but I don't think I can make it this year. But
Metroid Metal, Lame Genie, Super Soul Bros, Tiggs and String Player Gamer, Lame Genie, etc. Game Brass, 1UPS, WASD, of course, and the Cybertronic Spree. Did you see that they announced the Cybertronic Spree? Do you know who they are?
I do, actually.
Oh my gosh.
I don't. Explain.
It's probably best coming from you.
I feel like, Gene, you actually know more about them than I do, but they're like a Transformers band.
What?
Yeah, they dress up like the Transformers and play things like, the Transformers theme, but they play other 80s rock, and I think, do they have some originals as well? I'm trying to remember. I have only heard a few of their songs.
I know that they play The Touch by Stan Bush.
Of course.
Which is all you need.
I mean, that makes the band.
Oh, man.
But yeah, the lineup is stacked, and we're so lucky to be included this year. We're so excited, and we are going to make it a show that you don't want to miss. We're pulling out all the stops.
Just from listening to this album, I've really enjoyed it. I mean, this is obviously a fully produced album if you have the time to edit it, but if you guys are even like half as good live, it's going to be a great show. So I'm looking forward to seeing some of that recording, but we want to kind of jump in, take a little bit of break from the WASD band and kind of talk about PC video game music. You brought us a couple of tracks here that are not from the album. You didn't cover them, or maybe you did. They're just not on this album. But,
no, I haven't covered any of these ones that I brought.
But yeah, I don't have a specific order here, but we've got a track from The Sims, classic Rise of the Triad track, and one from Command & Conquer, Yuri's Revenge. Where do you want to start?
I think we should do Yuri's Revenge first, because that one is just, it's like, I can't describe it. It's indescribable.
All right, let's jump into it. That track is Brain Freeze, composed by Frank Klepacki. that was the track Brain Freeze from Command and Conquer Yuri's Revenge, originally released in 2001 and composed by Frank Klepacki. Oh, man.
That bass line rips. Boom, 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 ba-dum, ba-dum, boom.
The whole track is off the rails.
I never played this originally. I was a little bit worried when that synth came in. I was like, okay, I know this. I get the era, but it's kind of like on that knife's edge of like, yes, it sounds like the year 2000, 2001, but it's pulled off masterfully. I love that track.
Yes,
Yeah.
and the samples too is just like totally of the era.
Oh yeah, you got like Crystal Method and like the classic and triple scare quotes big beat sound, like kind of like 90s electronica.
I was just getting this really like Nine Inch Nails kind of hint in there.
Yeah.
like
Frank
the
was
entire
listening
time.
to tons of Nine Inch Nails.
Oh yeah, big time. Sweet.
Frank Klepacki has been like remarkably consistent. I'm glad he's finally starting to get the recognition, with like the Tiberian Sons and his own band. That is a different band, right? The Tiberian Sons is just a cover band. I thought he had his own original band.
He has
I think
his
you're
own,
debating yourself, Gene.
No, like
the Tiberian Sons is
Yeah.
its own thing.
Okay.
With Tony Dickinson and Connor Engstrom and all them. But then they were like, hey, Frank, do you want to do a show together? And he said, okay. And it was the best show at MagFest has ever had.
Nice.
But then, yeah, Frank has his own has his own like band where he does. I don't know if they do covers or like I don't know if they play his game music, but they definitely play like his original tunes. And he's also the drummer for like Sly and the Family Stone.
oh geez.
He's like a legit session musician.
Wow. Well, I wouldn't be able to tell by this track. It was just so boring. Let's get into our next track here. You had a few others picked out. What do you got?
I think next we should listen to some The Sims Buy Mode.
Let's do it.
That was Buy Mode 1 from The Sims, released in 2000, originally composed by Jerry Martin and Marc Russo.
That's a funny track because they're clearly going for like almost a sarcastic 1950s, 1960s, like perfect suburban America thing.
Mm-hmm.
But like that ending tells me they actually like they went for it. They really like put in the effort to make the arrangement with all the strings work.
You know what this reminds me of? Did you ever see The Truman Show?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
This sounds like it could just be right in that soundtrack.
It totally evokes, like, to me, the just the picture of somebody with a shopping cart walking through literally any store and just picking things off the shelf, which totally is what you're doing in buy mode. I love it. I love the little plucky pizzicato strings. It tells a story to me.
It's a good track. The Sims music is, I think, the Sims games are well loved, well known, but I think the soundtracks are generally underappreciated. I think they're really well thought out, really well composed, and they go with the game really well.
I agree. I do love the extra effort that they do, especially with, I think they did this with The Sims 2 and 3. They recorded like Simlish covers of real songs. Like they had the vocalists come back in. They got like a version without vocals, and they taught them how to sing their own songs in Simlish and recorded it and put it on the radio. It's great.
What?
Wow. That's a lot of effort.
Yeah. Like you can go and listen to like Katy Perry, Firework. I think Rise Against has a song in there as well, and like Soulja Boy. It's crazy.
Huh.
You don't speak Simlish, Brian? Okay.
No, not at all.
Gabba da bipe, gamma llama squeep.
All right, what do we got next?
Yeah, the last one I brought was from Rise of the Triad, Going Down the Fast Way.
That was Going Down the Fast Way from Rise of the Triad, released Christmas of 1994. So, get your big box and everything. Originally composed by Lee Jackson and Bobby Prince. Oh, man. What a tune.
What
So
a
good.
tune.
Now, do you think that title, Going Down the Fast Way, what do you think that means?
It's a first-person shooter, so I assume it has something to do with just killing lots of enemies, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Do you think the Fast Way is the name of a street? Am I going down the fast way? Or
no.
Are you going down the fast way? Like, I'm going to take you down.
Oh, like I'm going to take you
That's
down.
kind of how I read it.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, when you play that, have you played this game?
Yeah, it's a Doom clone.
Okay.
You run around and shoot Nazis, cult members.
Oh yeah, no, it's amazing. I
So
love
good.
this game. Love this game.
I was more of a Duke Nukem, a 3D guy myself, and of course the original Doom. But I mean, I played it a little bit. It's a fun game, but it's sort of a, what do they call it? An also ran these days. That's what they would say. I mean, it's a solid game. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But like it's hard to differentiate it a little bit when there were so many other things coming out. But going back to it, it's still a fun game to play. Didn't they just remake this a few years back?
They remade it in like 2011, I think. But yeah,
Okay. Seems like a strange one to bring back, but you know, it's got its fans for sure.
Oh yeah, it looks like it was released in 2013 on
13.
Steam.
Okay, yeah. It was around the time that they also remade like Wolfenstein and stuff. So there was some precedence to remake a weird old FPS game, and Wolfenstein took off. The Rise of the Triad, unfortunately, didn't.
Yeah. Had about the same reception as it did the last time.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great game though.
It is a fun game. Yeah. I mean, like taking on its own, its mechanics are totally solid. It's a very cheeky, you know, there's like, you know, blood and guts flying everywhere to an almost ridiculous degree sometimes.
But that music, though, that guitar solo in the middle, then it does the guitar solo again with another guitar to harmonize it or synthesize or whatever. I imagine it as a guitar solo. If I ever cover that, it will be a guitar solo.
Oh, without a doubt. I was a couple of weeks back, I was doing some like post editing on our old Double Dragon 2 episode, mostly just like our post, you know, like fixing up some typos. That whole like soundtrack is like that guitar solo personified. It's, you know, like it's great, you know, and it was kind of like early 90s, so it's still probably referencing a lot of that late 80s kind of, you know, harmonized like melodies and things like that, which is really cool.
Totally. And being Lee Jackson and Bobby Price, I mean, those are the Doom guys. Totally. Or yeah.
Did I say Bobby Price or Prince? Wait,
Prince,
which one is it?
I got it wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I get that right. Yeah. It's Bobby Prince.
Wait, I'm getting them all confused, actually. Wait, who did Doom and who did Duke Nukem? Shoot. my cred. Oh, no.
My street cred is gone.
I think Lee Jackson was Duke Nukem, because I think I had to look that up as well.
Let me see. I'm on his wiki. Bobby Prince, actually. Oh, no, they both did Duke Nukem 3D together.
Okay. And then
It looks like.
Who did Doom?
That was just Bobby Prince.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's interesting because Rise of the Triad was supposed to be the sequel to Wolfenstein.
Oh.
That's what it was meant to be. Yeah, it was meant to be. So Tom Hall,
Wow.
I guess, did was the lead director or whatever, executive producer or whatever, and he was fired by Carmack at id. And then they were originally working on this to be the Wolfenstein 3D Part 2 or whatever. And then it just turned into its own game. And Apogee licensed, took care of it.
That kind of makes sense, given like the enemies that you're fighting and the situations you're in. It makes sense that it would be a Wolfenstein sequel.
Yeah, I mean, you could see. I mean, that's why it's like a Wolfenstein clone. Well, I mean, or a Doom clone. Well, I mean, it's a lot of the. I would say a lot of the techniques and design choices were just brought over from
For
it.
sure,
So
for sure.
I mean, it kind of makes sense, right?
Well, yeah. Well, speaking of which, let's go back to that first-person shooter. Well, we're talking about, you know, dark magic, Middle Ages. How about we go into Heretic? That feels like a good one to cover. So we're going to do an A-B. You've got the original from Heretic and then one of the WASD covers. We're going to play the track The Cathedral, originally composed by Kevin Schilder. that was the Cathedral from Heretic, released in 1994, originally composed by Kevin Schilder.
I love the vibe.
Kind of an interesting choice on this one. Like I know you've played some older games, but Heretic Hexen, that series is not like, it's not one that as many people have gone back to. What's the story?
This was another one I did not play this as a kid, but I do remember, this is a weird memory that I have in my head, is that my dad played this game a lot when I was a kid. And I saw him playing like a first-person shooter with monsters and demons and stuff. And so growing up, I was like, oh yeah, I used to see my dad playing Doom all the time. But then like I went and played this game because I was in the mood to play a Doom type game, and I was like, oh, Heretic sounds pretty cool. And then I realized like halfway through the game, I was like, wait a minute, this is the game that my dad used to play. And I asked him about it. He was like, yeah, I never really played Doom. I liked Heretic better. I was like, oh, dude, that's awesome. And like, yeah, looking through the soundtrack, this one really stuck out to me. This level and this music just had so much like cool little riffs that could be explored, which I think you'll hear in my version.
Yeah, I actually kind of agree with your dad if the mechanics were a little bit better. I actually prefer the art style of like that cold gothic, you know.
Yes.
It's Doom with magic instead.
Mhm.
It's more like mummies and like magicians and
Ghosts and
It's
things.
stuff
But
like
it
that,
does
yeah.
look really cool. It's just, it's not
It
it's not
looks
quite
great.
as iconic
good
or
game,
timeless
too.
as Doom, but still. Let's jump into your version, Austin. This is what is it called? Sorry.
This one is called Blighted Sanctuary. That was Blighted Sanctuary, a cover by WASD of the music from the game Heretic.
I love it. I haven't played that much of Heretic, but I think you did a great job with it. I really love that bass riff that comes in around 1 minute. It's do.
I had this was one of the most recent arrangements that I have done for the album. I submitted this for Dwelling of Duels for MagFest month last year, or wait, maybe it was 2020. I don't know, actually. Time has all gotten wonky. It could have been either this past year or 3 years ago. I don't know. But it just was so much fun, and I just, even listening to it back now, I've listened to all of these songs so much. This is definitely one of my favorites on the album. Like, it's just so heavy and like doom metal-y, and it's so much fun.
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, well done. This is a blast to listen to. Really enjoyed it. I mean, I played this one probably, before the episode. I probably listened to this one like 4 or 5 times just because I was feeling it while I was working on notes.
Yeah, and I just have to say, from a technical production level, I mean, your last WASD album, I think, was 2017, and your production has definitely come a long way. It sounds really good. Like, I'm excited for the most likely 17-minute long Turrican, because one of the tracks you have on there is a Turrican, I assume medley, maybe not, but those are all very long songs.
It is not a medley. It's a reasonable length. It's like 4.5 minutes.
Okay. But no, there's so many tracks on here. I'm looking at the preview page on Bandcamp, and you can only listen to the Warcraft 2 one, and I'm like, I want to listen to the rest of this. So I'm going to be buying it day one. In fact, I'll probably have it when this recording comes out.
Yeah, you'll have it. Yeah, if you want, the question for you, would it be good if I ran down the track list here on the show?
You know what? I think so, if only because you're going to get some people that are smirking because, I remember that game. So run down. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So, the whole track list is, we've got music from Turrican, Space Quest 3, Civilization 4, which we're going to hear a little bit more of in a minute, Unreal Gold, The Incredible Machine 3, which we heard. There's a Warcraft 2 and World of Warcraft Burning Crusade medley, Metro 2033, the Borderlands track we heard. There's Deus Ex, Duke Nukem 3D, Mech Warrior 2. This is a big album. Heretic, and then there's a track from both Dune and Dune 2, which were actually both released in the same year, crazy enough.
Yeah, I think they're different genres. That was a weird, like...
Yeah, it was a weird, like, license overlap or something. But 14 tracks, and I am so excited for this album to come out, and I hope people out there will check it out and check out some of these tunes.
I'm probably most excited for Space Quest 3. That was one of my very first games. It was one of the first games that I got really far in without a guide, too. And Sierra games were notoriously hard. Yeah,
I was going to say,
Yeah. I didn't beat it without a guide, though. I got to, I think, like the third planet or something, and I just probably missed some item. The classic missed an item classic. Like 20 hours ago or whatever.
Didn't pick up that chicken.
Doomed yourself. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. Great track lineup, and really excited for this release. I think it's going to gain a lot of traction. It's too bad that you're not going to have CDs available for handout at MAG, because I think that's where you get a lot of...
I think we will.
Oh, you think you will?
I think we will have the CDs at MAG. Yes, we are planning to.
Awesome.
The order is in, and so hopefully we'll be getting them.
All those delays and stuff. Well, hopefully you're okay.
Yeah, I planned it so that hopefully, I gave enough buffer room from what the plant said they needed, and I had to give myself some kind of a deadline to get this album out, or else I still wouldn't be out. But yeah, I'm fingers crossed we've got it all.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I'm sure it'll be great. And I also, same fingers crossed for you, because I know a lot of people are going to be picking this up at MAG if it's right there. So,
also, I do want to say we're not just releasing this album on CD or digital. We're also releasing this album on floppy disk.
Excellent.
3.5-inch floppy.
How?
I am selling. So if you order the album on Bandcamp, you can get the floppy disk mystery single, which is I am able to compress 2 tracks to fit on the 1.44 meg floppy and have them still sound pretty good. So I'm going to do that. You'll get 2 random tracks from the album on the floppy, in case you actually want to listen to them that way. But then you also get the digital download through Bandcamp, It's got like a custom label we're putting on it. I'm gonna hand like copy all the data onto them myself, and it's for the people who are like, you know, cassette lovers or other weird dead formats. Now you can get a floppy disk album.
Too bad you couldn't commit to a general MIDI release of all of the tracks on here, but that's just too much time.
Yeah. Hey, just get, dude, put it on a zip drive, dude.
Yeah, a big old zip disk.
Yeah.
Gene, I hate to say, but you've actually uncovered a secret plan of mine.
Oh, geez.
I have not ruled out the idea of doing a general MIDI version of the album and then shipping it with a little driver program.
That would be amazing.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great.
We should probably move on. So the next track that we're going to play is, and our final track of the night, we're going to be doing a comparison between, is from the game Civilization 4. This is the track Baba Yetu, originally composed by Christopher Tin. And let's start with the OST version. All right, that was the song Baba Yetu, the now legendary song Baba Yetu from the game Civilization 4, composed by Christopher Tin, released in the year 2005. And actually, just before this, Austin, you were saying that this wasn't the original version, that there was another version. So what's the story there?
There is. Yeah, I believe that Christopher Tin originally composed and arranged a version for an a cappella group or like some kind of small musical ensemble at whatever university he was at when he was in school.
It was at Stanford
Yeah, he was at
or
Stanford,
Oxford.
yeah.
one of them.
Yeah. Some there's like a famous Stanford group that he had arranged for, which is crazy awesome. I didn't even know that was the case. I always just thought of this as being like, I think it was still written for Civilization 4, but like was also performed with this group, and like those were the people who did the original recording.
Oh, it's the Stanford Talisman is the group.
Yeah. I think this is a really interesting track. First of all, I love it. It's an earworm. It's a great song. What I think is kind of, I don't know if I'd call this strange as much as just sort of like curious, is that, so I've been in choirs before. Baba Yetu is one of the very few VGM songs that's really broken through into what you could call the choir mainstream. So, like, don't get me wrong, a lot of choir people are people like us, they're our age, they play video games, but very few of those arrangements really just like this one, wildfire. Like, if you Google Baba Yetu or search it on YouTube, you'll see dozens of videos with millions of views, choirs all over the world. I've performed it. My wife performed it at Video Games Live one year. It's like the quintessential VGM song that like most choirs that are not full of 70-year-old people have performed this song at one point or another. It's great. It's clearly, as you said, Christopher Tin knew how to write for voice, and I spoke with my wife about this earlier. So it's a fun song to sing that sounds really engaging for audiences. That's like, it's just like how you write a choir song. So it's the perfect song to kind of like have broken through, and I'm really glad that it has. It's just such a lovely, lovely song.
And if I'm not mistaken here, Baba Yetu is Swahili. The song, that the lyrics are the Lord's Prayer, correct? But in Swahili.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's have you sung this one, Brian? Just curious.
I mean, like after I played Civ 4, I mean, yeah, but I mean, not professionally. I'm not a singer.
Yeah. Well, if you join a choir, you might end up singing it. I'm just gonna say
that's such an interesting point. I never would have thought that it would be like, the choir mainstream. It would have broken through there. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's one of the rare VGM tunes that's got that level of. The only other one, and it's not from video games, is like maybe Duel of the Fates, because it's such a choir heavy song.
Yeah.
That one
That's
was
a good
huge
one.
about 10, 15 years ago. I don't know what's hip these days in the choir world.
What's hip these days?
What's hip?
Just go to ACDA and somebody tell me that's the conference that happens annually. Anyway, enough about that. Let's play your version, your arrangement of it, and then we'll kind of bring it in and then talk a little bit about it and close out the show. So, anything you want to tell us before we play this one?
You put me on the spot. The answer is no.
All right, let's play the track and then talk about it afterwards.
right, that was Stand the Test of Time from WASD's version of Baba Yetu, originally composed by Christopher Tin. I first heard this and I was like, no way, this is not going to work. There's no way this is going to work. And then when the lead comes in and it does that, Baba Yetu, I was like, oh my God, it sounds so good.
Yeah. And one thing I really love about actually all of these arrangements, but this one is that it's a song that could very easily get very repetitive if you were to just play it straight. And you took the arrangement in different places. So you really kind of expanded on it in really good and like for a rock arrangement, I feel like you did all the right stuff that, made it. Because like when you lose that power of the choir, you got to replace it with something else. And I think you did a great job.
The choir of guitars.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, it's lovely. I'm kind of curious why this song, I mean, I wouldn't immediately have thought of a rock metal arrangement of Baba Yetu. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it wouldn't have been my first thought.
When your main arranging genre is metal, it's like, when you only have a hammer, everything's a nail. So
that's true.
I was like, let's see how it works. For every like successful Baba Yetu rock, heavy rock arrangement, there's plenty of failed Samba de Amigo tracks or something out there that I've done.
That's a deep cut, but
but yeah, the thing I love about Civ 4, I sunk so many hours into this. Every time I play this song, I can just hear Leonard Nimoy's voice, just like narrating all of the tech and everything. This is so good.
I got to be honest. So Civ 4 was a big one. It was like one of the kind of pivotal, I think, moments in the Civ timeline where the game really upped the expansion of like how the mechanics were. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a Civ game. They all kind of even harken back to the original, but I think this was a big one for Civ, right? Civ 2 and 3 were just kind of almost like recreations of 1, maybe with some isometric changes, but Civ 4 really broke the barrier and went like on this new direction, I think, with the franchise. And we see that same stuff later on in like 5 and 6 also still carrying over.
Totally agree.
Yeah, but Civ 4 was really the big one, kind of like The Sims earlier. You know, like there's multiple. I think we're on The Sims 3 now, but
4.
The first Sims was the one, and Civ 4 was the one.
Yeah.
I was just talking about somebody with this like the other day about Civ, and I was like, man, I realized when I was in elementary school and I played a lot of Civ 1 and 2, I learned like probably like 90% of like the history.
Yeah, you learn about the world leaders and the nations and all that.
Yeah, I was like the only kid to like know like what aqueducts were, and like in my class. I mean, I was a little guy. I was totally absorbed. I've played this game for hours. Not just Civ 4, but like all of Civ 1 and 2.
They're so good. I remember seeing so many magazine ads for Civ with like pyramids and things and like building up your nations and like pictures of like Gandhi and all these other world leaders interacting. And I was just like, oh man, this game looks awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't play a whole lot of 3, but 1, 2, and 4 for sure were my go-tos.
Same. Yeah, I played a lot of 1 and 2 and a decent amount of 4, but I started to fall off. I think, I don't know. It was just a period of my life where I wasn't playing a whole lot of PC games when Civ 4 came out, but what I did play of it I really enjoyed. But I didn't sink as many hours into it as I.
It's such an easy time sink. Like when you get into it, like I spent so much time on 4 and 5 that when 6 came out, I was like, I can't. I will ruin my life. I'm not going to do it. And I don't know when 6 came out, but like I just started playing it like maybe over the summer. And yeah, it was a bad move. I stayed up all night playing Civ like immediately the first day I got it.
Being an adult sucks.
I know. But we've unfortunately come to the end of our show. It's been so much fun having you, Austin, here.
Thank you for having me.
Talking about all of this. Yeah. I wanted to give you an opportunity. We've talked plenty about the album, the band. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about or plug before we do our little wrap up?
I guess I'll just say WASD's new album, Escape, is going to be available December 16th, which is before this show goes live, so you can go get it now. It's on Bandcamp, wasdband.bandcamp.com. You can follow us on social media and stuff like that through our link tree. That's linktree/WASD band. Got all of our info and stuff there. And the album will be out on streaming services eventually. For now, it's just Bandcamp and CDs and floppy disks, which I'm happy to sell you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It was really a pleasure having you. If you want to know more about our show, you can check us out online at pixelatedaudio.com for the show notes. All the links that Austin mentioned will be in our show notes, so you can check that out. Make it a little easier on yourself, because I don't even remember what you just said. Something about trees, something.
Oh, we'll post the links to everything.
Yeah, we'll have the links to everything. Anyways, if you like the show, feel free to leave comments, feedback, join our Discord. There's always great chat happening there. And if you're new to our podcast, make sure you check out some of our past episodes. Got to plug Canyon.mid since that was pretty recent. And then we've done other PC expansion packs, PC game expansion packs, stuff like that. So
Brian, I actually came in. My very first show with you guys was talking about PC music, episode 81, going all the way back 90 episodes ago. Yeah. We opened up with the Monkey Island PC speaker version just to be difficult. Just because
just to make it hard.
I think that's still the only time we've ever played a PC speaker on the show.
That's the best one.
Maybe
it is great.
Oh no, we played the Alley Cat. Or no?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we played the Alley Cat one as a kind of a short example. But anyway, PC music, I love it.
PCs.
Yeah, I'm glad we're here talking with fellow lovers of PC music.
Love me some computer games.
I mean, I have to admit, like, I kind of want to go play some Civ 4 right now. Like,
I think you should.
I kind of want to. Well, yeah, except that, like, I have a wife and kids that are bothering me right now, so I don't think it's going to happen.
See, you're going to load up Civ, discover fishing, and then you'll get to hear Leonard Nimoy's great voice be like, "Give a man a fish and feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, and you feed him for a lifetime."
Well put.
Thank you, Leonard Nimoy.
We should have left on that.
You're welcome.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you back in a few weeks for the next episode.